Before you listen, if you enjoy the stories and want to hear more, then please consider subscribing. Most of you listening aren't subscribed, so please take this time to subscribe. Turn on notifications so you'll never miss a story and be the first to hear. You'll also be supporting me. Thank you. Why did I let myself get convinced to go on this date? I've been perfectly content being single, focusing on me, working hard at my job, and hanging out with friends. But for months now, Claire has been on my case, saying I need to put myself out there and go on more dates. You can't spend Friday nights watching Netflix forever, she always says. I finally caved and made a profile on one of those swipey dating apps, mostly just to appease her. I wasn't actually going to meet up with anyone. But then a couple weeks ago, I got a DM on Instagram from this random guy named Derek, who thought I was hella cute and seemed eager to take me to dinner. After loads of pestering from Claire, I hesitantly said yes, thinking going on one date to prove I was trying wouldn't kill me. Big mistake. Huge. The night started ominously when Derek pulled up in an old, beat-up Corolla with a giant scrape on the passenger door. I could see fast food wrappers and crumpled receipts littering the back seat area. I climbed in the car, faintly smelling of stale French fries with a tree-shaped air freshener, unsuccessfully trying to mask it. As Derek pulled away from the curb, the wheels hit a pothole, causing something to rattle around in the trunk. He didn't make eye contact, keeping his focus on the road, as he turned up the radio, which was crackling as it blared a fuzzy classic rock station. We drove in awkward near silence for 15 minutes, broken only by him absent-mindedly drumming his thumbs on the steering wheel off beat from the music. I asked basic first date questions, which he gave one-word answers to. Riveting conversation this was not. When we pulled into the parking lot of Joe's Roadside Eats, a dubious-looking diner with flickering neon letters over the door and peeling paint along window frames, my first instinct was to ask him to keep driving. Maybe we could just grab coffee instead. But he had already hopped out and come around to open my door with a sweeping, unlady gesture, as if this were some five-star establishment. Climbing out, my heels immediately sunk into a pothole, nearly causing me to faceplant if not for Derek catching me at the last second. This night was getting better and better. Walking inside, I noted scuffed-up checkerboard floor tiles desperately needing a scrub and walls covered in chipping beige wallpaper and random vintage license plates. We slid into a red vinyl booth by the bathrooms. I figured toilets flushing every couple minutes and vaguely smelled sewage underneath the overpowering scent of bacon grease. So far, this had been the opposite of romantic. Derek attempted more first date questions, but still barely reacted to my responses, instead just segueing onto dull topics like his data entry job or complaints about his boss not appreciating his pivot table expertise enough. At one point, as he droned on about Excel keyboard shortcuts for a solid 8 minutes, I had to discreetly pinch my leg under the table to stop myself from falling asleep. Eventually, 2 plates arrived, my limp pen and drowning in runny store-bought marinara sauce that was clearly just ragu from a jar, topped with rubbery mozzarella that hadn't fully melted. His plate housed an overcooked burger, the patty thin and grayish, topped with a soggy bun and a few strands of reddish-brown lettuce that had seen better days. The side of fries were cold, limp, and stale, like they'd been sitting under a heat lamp for far too long. But none of that seemed to faze Derek, who picked up the burger with both hands and took a huge, greedy bite. Sauce dripped down his chin as he chewed open-mouthed. In 3 large, savage chomps of burger was gone. He chased it with a handful of the sodden fries, chewing loudly. I stared down at my plate, pushing the gloppy noodles around with my fork, utterly revolted. This was without question the worst date of my life, and I once had a guy sneeze in my mouth mid-kiss. "You gonna finish that?" Derek asked, eyeing my plate hungrily, his own already clean. I shook my head and pushed the inedible mess his way, which he happily transferred to his plate with his fork. He twirled the slippery noodles around until they formed one giant clump, which he shoved gracelessly into his mouth. I watched in horror as marinara sauce dribbled down his chin. He was making sloppy, wet chewing noises that turned my stomach. I looked around, desperately hoping no one thought we were together. When the check came, Derek snatched it up eagerly, but as his eyes scanned the total, his face fell. He squinted at the paper for a solid minute, flipped it over as if checking for more details, sighed heavily, then finally pulled out his worn leather wallet. He opened it slowly, thumbing past a sparse few bills before letting out another dramatic exhale. When the check came, he squinted at it, sighed, pulled out his wallet, and asked if we could split the bill evenly. I reluctantly agreed, but then he followed up by smiling sheepishly and questioning if maybe I could cover his half too, since he was short on cash at the moment. Wait, was this guy seriously asking me to pay for the whole disaster of a date that I hadn't even wanted to go on in the first place? I was this close to making a scene when the exhausted waitress stopped by for payment. Not wanting to cause a fuss, I angrily threw down enough cash to cover us both, plus a measly 10% tip. The drive back was utterly quiet after I shut down Derek's further attempts at small talk. Pulling up at my apartment building, he leaned across the gear shift and closed his eyes, lips pursed ridiculously as he aimed for an unwanted goodnight kiss. Oh heck no. I dodged him as politely as I could, grabbing my purse and muttering a quick thanks before darting out the car door that I struggled to slam shut. Power walking into my building, I vowed to never again listen to Claire's pestering about getting back into dating. Once in my apartment, I immediately deleted Derek's number and all our messages. Dating could officially suck it. I changed into pajamas, queued up Netflix, and decided chilling on my couch with a generous glass of wine was way preferable to that nightmare of an evening. My best friend Katie has been nagging me for weeks now to put myself back out there and download this new dating app called Flutter she's obsessed with. I continue rolling my eyes hard every time she brings it up, though. Like, sure, it's been a while since the epic explosive collapse of things with my loser ex Kyle, but dating apps just scream sketchy hookups with randoms. Definitely not my scene. Katie insists I'm imagining the worst and that she knows tons of young professional couples matched happily ever after thanks to Flutter's proprietary algorithm. She swears its leaps and bounds beyond all the shady swiping apps that filtering quality guys worth a first date. But despite her relentless hype, no way am I touching that disaster zone. I mean, could you even imagine? Endless awkward small talk and lame pickup lines from flaky strangers. Absolutely not my speed. Except it's a boring Saturday night 3 weeks post-breakup when I'm home solo watching sappy Netflix rom-coms with my cat, reeking of bridal shower gift shop perfume samples and rapidly melting discount ice cream. And suddenly, out of nowhere, Katie's chirpy little voice echoes in my head, taunting me to download her beloved Miracle app and just see. With an exasperated groan, I grab my phone, stomach dropping even typing the stupid name into the app store. I'll be fine, Katie. Let's get your little experiment over with. I grumble under my breath, half hoping my surrender isn't loud enough for her to psychically register from wherever she's at tonight. But 30 minutes later, I've slapped together the world's most reluctant and bare-bones dating profile, already cringing inside awaiting the impending wave of gross guiants from candidates almost guaranteed to reinforce my staunch cynicism. But after nervously posting my minimalist profile, my alerts stay surprisingly quiet. I mean, thank God I'm not inundated by vulgar come-ons from random sleazebags at least. Still though, like, did I accidentally restrict something in the settings where no one can even see me? Starting to wonder if I should poke around when finally a cheerful little blip pops up. And then another, and another. Okay, Katie, alright, fine. Seems I successfully exist on Flutter. We shall see what fresh hell awaits now. I tap over to the message center with a reluctant sigh, and am genuinely surprised again that the first few notes seem almost sweet. Finally, this tall outdoorsy guy with a warm smile writes the nicest intro about how he also despises the shallow app dating scene. But he took a chance on joining since his sister claims she met her husband on Flutter. He asks very politely if we could just start by meeting for coffee sometime this week, no expectations beyond casual conversation. And if we don't click as friends even, no love lost moving on from there. I raise my eyebrows scanning through a few of his other earnest-seeming profile photos full of charity race medals and snuggling shelter dogs. Gotta say, he checks more genuine nice guy boxes than 99% of Kyle's arrogant frat boy crowd I'm accustomed to attracting. Okay, Katie, maybe I'll concede that not every fish in this sea is entirely putrid. I decide on a whim to take a chance meeting this coffee guy, real name Evan as I'll soon discover, the very next morning. I spend way too long getting ready the next day to be impressively casual at what I keep reminding myself is just a super low-stakes coffee date. No reason to get worked up. I repeat like a mantra while idling outside the chosen cafe early, checking my minimal makeup for the 1000th time. But when kind-eyed Evan strolls up right on time and embraces me in an easy hug, I'm amazed that conversation flows completely effortless and warm. He's seriously great, attentive, and funny, with this soothing, grounded energy. Before I know it, we're deep in conversation for over an hour, coffee sitting untouched between giggles at his ridiculous childhood stories. My cheeks actually ache from smiling and laughing so much. I'm in the middle of a wild tale from my epic girls' trip debacle in Miami when I gradually start noticing Evan sporadically glancing down to rapidly text somebody. At first I shrug it off, not wanting to presume clinginess, but the longer we sit there, his responses grow suspiciously more frequent, his chuckling more distracted and stilted. I feel self-consciousness creeping under my skin as I trail off mid-story. Desperate to shake off this unsettling, awkward tension, I gently ask across our tiny table who exactly he's messaging so intently for the past 20 minutes. Evan's eyes dart up looking slightly panicked before he mumbles something about critical work emails. His shoulders hunch almost imperceptibly as he shoves the mysteriously buzzing phone deep into his jacket pocket. We both sip our cold drinks in loaded silence for what feels like endless minutes. That initial glow noticeably diminished. Eventually, Evan abruptly excuses himself to the restroom, and as soon as he's around the corner, I clearly hear multiple swooshes signaling even more wordy message bursts being fired off. I bite my lip, equal parts embarrassed and indignant. Maybe I'm overthinking harmless work stuff, but my intuition is absolutely screaming he's hiding something here. I don't usually ask random girls out. When I saw her laughing while playing frisbee at the park with her golden retriever, I felt this spark. She had a great smile that lit up her whole face. When her pup ran over begging me to throw his slobbery toy, it felt like the perfect chance to chat her up. We ended up talking and joking around for over an hour. Her name was Amanda, and she had just moved to the area for a job as a graphic designer. I told her I was an accountant but made some corny jokes so she wouldn't think I was boring. She even laughed a few. Eventually, I got up the guts to invite her to grab a coffee together sometime. I was shocked when she said yes without hesitation and told me she was free the next day. We exchanged numbers and made plans to meet at this trendy new cafe called Jitters. I'll admit I agonized over what to wear for way too long given it was just a casual coffee date. I changed outfit like 6 times. I don't know why, but I was more nervous for this than my last 3 first dates combined. When I walked into Jitters and saw Amanda waving at a table by the front window, wearing a blue sweater that perfectly matched her eyes, my stomach did a backflip. How was this girl even real and somehow interested in me? We ended up talking for hours, moving from coffees to sandwiches to desserts. The conversation flowed easily and Amanda seemed fully engaged, asking me thoughtful questions and making me laugh with funny stories about her dog. We liked all the same podcasts, hated all the same politicians, and both had a secret obsession with early 2000s pop punk music. It was kind of uncanny. I found myself opening up more than usual, telling her about my goal of one day opening my own firm, my passion for rescuing shelter dogs inspired by my childhood pup Lucky, and how close I was with my mom since it had just been us 2 for years after my dad left. Instead of scaring Amanda off by being too candid too soon like had happened before, she confided that her dad had also left when she was young and that she became best friends with her aunt as a result. We closed down the cafe without even noticing the time flying by. Amanda suggested a walk through the nearby park so we could continue our conversation. Under the glow of street lamps surrounded by the smell of flowers from the garden plots, I worked up the nerve to lightly brush my fingers against hers. To my delight, she interlaced hers with mine. I was on cloud 9. This all seemed too good to be true. Until suddenly, Amanda froze, dropping my hand. She was staring across the lawn, eyes locked on a couple having a picnic under a towering oak tree, bottle of wine and cheese plate laid out. I followed her gaze, confused why she was so transfixed. The guy looked vaguely familiar, but I couldn't place him. The girl's back was to us. "Amanda, are you?" I started to ask if she was okay, but she suddenly looked at me stricken, eyes shining with near tears. "I'm so sorry," she choked out. "That's Charlie, my boyfriend." My euphoric bubble popped instantly, replaced with shock and anger roiling in my gut. She had a boyfriend. So our magical date, her flirtatious touches, the kiss we almost shared, it was all a lie. Before I could even process this bombshell revelation, Amanda was giving me a mournful look and mumbling another apology before turning and rushing away, leaving me stunned, speechless amidst the flower beds. I stood there frozen for who knows how long, mind racing. She had a boyfriend named Charlie. They clearly were still dating if they were cozied up having a romantic late-night picnic, which meant Amanda had blatantly cheated on him with me. The perfect girl I'd bonded with for hours, who I was convinced was totally smitten with me, had tricked me into being her illicit side piece. I felt sick with anger and embarrassment. I couldn't even wrap my head around someone doing something so deceptive and cruel. I never saw Amanda again after that night. Good riddance. Her poor boyfriend, though. Part of me wanted to somehow warn him about her shameless cheating. But it wasn't my place, and I wanted no further connection to her after that duplicitous deception. I definitely took a good long dating break after my night with Amanda. Got me a bit commitment phobic, if I'm being honest. That was by far the worst first date of my life. Discovering the cute girl I hit it off with had zero qualms about blatantly cheating on some poor clueless sap. Here's hoping I never again encounter such a deceitful two-timer. Fool me once, shame on me. I learned to spot red flags after Amanda, though. Trust broken is not so easily restored when someone shows their true cowardly colors like that. Hard pass on cheaters and liars from here on out. Thanks for listening in. If you like these stories and want to hear more, then please subscribe and like and support this new channel. We have more stories for you to listen to.